Christina, you're trying to mute people that aren't supposed to be talking, correct?
Come on.
Thank you.
Whose horn is that?
I think that was you and the berries.
No. That's too high pitch. That's like a bicycle horn.
No bicycles here.
What do we got? 4 minutes. Perfect. Missing people up. Right?
How come everybody looks closer to the camera?
Close enough.
All right, knock it off.
Did you see that partner's here?
What part?
Exactly.
Keep it close, John, so you don't see I'm wearing shorts.
I just hope you're wearing pants. I don't care whatever your shorts or not.
Not today, you know.
How you doing, Joe?
Good, Jack. How are you?
Living the dream, right?
Yeah, so they say. So, Christy, looks like we're live and recording and all.
Yeah, we're ready to go.
All right, it's 6:30. I'm going to start the meeting. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
United
States of America,
to the
to the
republic
republic
which
which it
stands
stands,
One nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with justice for all.
with justice for all.
I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifices of the armed service member who protect our nation and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. I'd also like to make note that we lost a girl in the Morris Hills community earlier today, lost her life. It's very sad. I believe the girl lives in Montville, went to the academy. And it's a very sad, and I know that the school district provided support to students, but I just wanted to make sure it was recognized. So please join me in a moment of silence. Okay, clerk, can you please take the roll call?
Councilmember Kelly,
Here.
Councilmember Quinn,
Here.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Here?
Councilmember Kritz.
Here.
Councilmember Salberg,
Here.
Councilmember Brooks,
Here.
Councilmember Noon,
Here.
Vice President Sackett,
Here.
President Jackson.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. Please be advised that all electronic remote meetings of the Township Council held on WebEx are recorded. All members of the public will be provided with the opportunity to speak. During any public hearing or open to the public sections of the meeting, the Township Clerk will unmute each member of the public and ask if they wish to speak. As per Rockaway Township Code 2-5.14, any person desiring to address the council shall first either seek recognition by the presiding officer, and upon recognition by the chair, the person shall give their name and address for the record. Unless further time is granted by the council, they shall limit their statement to 5 minutes. Statement shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. A councilman shall not direct any questions to a speaker addressing the council except through the presiding officer. In addition to speaking on the record during council meetings, members of the public may submit questions and comments to the council by emailing questions@rockawaytownship.org by the end of the open to the public session. Next, this meeting was advertised in the Daily Record on January 9th, 2021, and the Star Ledger on January 11th, 2021, the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway. On January 9th, 2021, notice was posted on the bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. Our next agenda item is the approval of the February 23rd, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Council President, just a small bit of information on this before we vote on it.
now, go ahead, clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Abstain.
Councilmember Quinn,
Chrissy, it looks like he dropped off there for a minute.
okay, I'll come back to him. Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes?
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
He was
Vice
just
President
there.
Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes. I don't see him. Oh. Jack, unmute yourself and vote on the minutes from February 23rd. Still can't hear him. I don't know if you're muted on your end, Jack. Something wrong with your computer?
Tell him to shake his head up and down for the yes.
You want a thumbs up for yes and a thumbs down for no, Jack? Or shake your head yes for yes or no for no. Thumbs up, okay. So that's 1 abstention and 8 yeses. Minutes are approved. Thanks, Matt.
That way. You're welcome. Sign language always helps.
Next are ordinances to be withdrawn. We have O-21-05, an ordinance amending section 54-30.67 entitled RMFO-12 Multifamily Residential Overlay District of Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway to correct the typographical error. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Clerk, you could take the roll call.
Was Vice President Sackett our motion?
No, I believe it was Mr. Kritz.
Thank you.
Was it?
Yeah, seconded.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn, Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes. Mr. Yachfano, do you have any guidance on this? If Mr. Quinn cannot get connected, we have 8 yes votes right now.
Well, the matter, Council President would carry.
I'm trying to get him on the phone to call in.
All right, but go ahead, Mr. Yachfano. Do we have to wait for him or on this one, or?
We can wait a short time, but other than that, we can proceed.
And if he can't connect, well, what would we consider his vote?
You consider his vote as an abstention.
Okay. Mr. Quinn, can you hear us? I could see him now. I don't think he can hear us, though.
Get hold up a sign, yes or no?
I don't know if he can hear. Jack, if you could hear, is it a yes or no? Yep, okay, so he's a yes, so there's 9 yeses. The ordinances have withdrawn. Next is ordinance to adopt is going to be, we're looking to withdraw ordinance O-21-06. An ordinance amending chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development, section 54-47 entitled Municipal Housing Liaison of the Code of the Township of Rockaway. Can I have a motion?
I make a
Council
motion.
President, really quick, I'm sorry, we aren't looking to withdraw, we're looking to table.
Table.
Until
I'm
our
sorry.
next
Did I say
council
withdraw?
meeting.
I'm sorry, yes, table. Mr. Kelly made the motion. Is it second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Sackett. You take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
This is to table it, correct?
To table it,
correct.
correct.
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Could skip over
let
him
me,
now.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Chrissy,
Yeah.
can you hear me? It's Jack.
Yeah, we can hear you now, Jack.
Okay.
Jack is back.
Yes, I left the meeting and came back.
Yeah.
Well, Councilmember Quinn, we're voting to table ordinance 02106 to our March 23rd meeting.
Okay, yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses. The ordinance will be tabled until our next meeting. Next is open to the public. I'll ask first, Mrs. Seeger, do we have any emails?
Yes, we do. We have one from Mr. Gibson. Give me 1 second. I was helping Jack there, so I didn't bring
Yeah,
it
no
up.
worries.
Mr. Gibson wants to know, I would like to inquire about, Mr. Gibson lives in town. He's actually, Chrissy, he's on the attendance list. Do you want to ask him if he wants to speak himself, or does he want me to read this into the record?
sure.
Gibbons?
Gibbons.
Okay. You want to unmute him, Chrissy, and see if he wants to speak?
Yes.
Mr. Gibbons, would you like to speak? You're unmuted.
I can actually just forward to the email, but just to reiterate what I stated in the
Could
email.
you, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, could you just start by stating your name and address?
Sure. Robert Gibbons, 8 McVickers Lane, Mendham, New Jersey.
Go ahead.
I'm just inquiring about the licensure for the medical cannabis cultivation, manufacturing, and processing licenses. I see that in the town ordinances copied in July that it was approved. However, what I'm looking to inquire about is about applications for moving said processes forward. And what do I need to do to see my partners and I see to acquire any necessary applications to acquire these licenses?
Okay. Mr. Mayor, did you want to address that now, or are you going to do in your report, or?
I'll address it now. We received your email, and our business administrator, Pat Seeger, has actually reached out to you. We reached out yesterday. We had an issue with our email. We apologize for the delay, but we will speak with you. We'll speak with you directly, and we'll explain to you what the process is.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
You got it. No problem.
Ms. Seeger, are there any other emails?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, Chrissy, you can start going through everybody else.
Colin user 2. Daniel Gosicki,
No questions. No questions.
Eleanor Hoffman.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I had a question. I'm
Could-
wondering.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Could you just state your name and address, please, to start with?
Oh, sure. Eleanor Hoffman, 204 West Lakeshore Drive, Rockaway.
Mhm.
And my question is about the gazebo down at Parks Lake. Why is that closed?
I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if you wanted to, is that all you had, Ms. Hoffman?
Yes, that's it.
Okay. I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if you wanted to talk about this now, or,
You know what? I will speak about it now. We had folks during the pandemic, which is continuing, congregating down there in fairly large numbers. There were some issues that we had with the gazebo being damaged and defaced. And right now we felt it was best until we could get things under control to close that.
okay.
Okay, all right. Well, that's cool. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
No problem. Go ahead.
Jim Warder.
Yeah, Jim Waters, 48 Seneca Avenue in the township. Sorry, I missed the meeting from the 23rd, particularly since it's the second time in recent years that the council was forced to increase our taxes to compensate for a series of frivolous lawsuits filed by a particular individual who nobody needs to name anymore, who loves to abstain when he's in meetings, who loves to get all worked up about inane, insensical, and minority issues when he's not in meetings. Just like to say I'm I know that the increase, as noted, was for a couple of other items as well. But principally, it has to address the untoward activities of this particular individual who is not, who is breaching his fiduciary responsibility to township taxpayers, all taxpayers, not just those in his ward, by filing these frivolous and unwarranted lawsuits. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patricia Degnan,
No comment, please. Thank you.
Ron Cleland,
No comment.
William Degnan, William Degnan,
No comment.
Okay.
and that's it, Council President.
Thank you. Ms. Seeger, are there any more emails have you received?
No, sir.
Okay. Moving on, next we have ordinances to introduce. We have O-21-07, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development, Section 45, entitled Fair Share Housing Requirements of the Code of the Township of Rockaway. Can I have a motion?
I have a
So
motion.
moved.
Second,
Who first it?
Mr. Quinn.
Second.
I'll second it, Jeff.
All right, Mr. Kelly, second. Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Member Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next is O-21-08, an ordinance establishing Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development, Section 48 entitled Mandatory Affordable Housing Set Aside of the Code of the Township of Rockaway. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Who first and second it, please?
It was Mr. Quinn and Mr. Friedlander.
Should we put a notice as to why we're doing these over again from the original time we did them? So it's
The mayor can cover it in his report.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next is O-21-09, an ordinance establishing Chapter 54 entitling Land Use and Development, Section 54-30.52 entitled R-B MFO Regional Business Multifamily Overlay District of the Code of the Township of Rockaway. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Kelly, seconded by Mr. Quinn. Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next is O-21-10, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of Township of Rockaway, creating a new Section 54-30.53 entitled B2 MFO Highway Business Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion if nobody did.
Second
I got Councilmember Kelly.
Yeah,
The
I
motion.
made the motion.
yeah, Mr. Kelly made the motion, Mr.
Okay.
a second.
If we could just have that read every time, it gets a little confusing. For some reason, we're not doing it this time.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
He's blanked out again.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes.
and Councilmember Quinn.
Give a thumbs up if it's yes. We can't hear it. Yes. It's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next is O-21-11, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.66 entitled RMFO 10 Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Kelly, second.
I'll second it again.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
He's gone again.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, I'm back again.
Okay, you're voting on O-21-11.
Yes.
It's 9 yeses, motion carries. What did Manny help you sign on today?
I don't know why this keeps popping out.
I know.
I have
All
to.
right, next is O-21-12, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.67 entitled RMFO 12 Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Kelly made the motion, Mr. Quinn seconded.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next is O-21-13, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.68 entitled RMFO 12A Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Kelly? I'm sorry, who seconded?
Councilmember Quinn,
Okay.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next is O-21-14, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.69 entitled RMFO 15 Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
Second. Second.
Mr. Kelly and Mr. Friedlander.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is O-21-15, an ordinance amending Chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway, creating a new section 54-30.70 entitled RMFO 15A, Multifamily Residential Overlay District. Can I have a motion?
So
Mr.
moved.
Kelly.
Second.
Mr. Kelly and Mr. Quinn.
Okay, good.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is the introduction of the 2021 municipal budget. Ordinance introduced O-21-19 ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank NJSA 40A:40-45.14. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second that.
Mr. Quinn and Mr. Kritz, I believe.
Yeah.
That was
Salberg.
Adam.
Oh, Adam, sorry. Kirk, you can take
Councilmember Kelly,
No.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Fritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett, President Jackson,
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries. Next is Resolution R21-46, a resolution introduced the 2021 municipal budget of the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris.
Council President,
Yes,
before we introduce this, I would like to ask that we amend a
are
second.
you making a motion, Mr. Quinn?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead.
My motion would be to amend the capital line of the budget, Peterson Field improvements, and add $200,000 to that under the capital.
Can we have discussion on this?
We will if it's seconded. Anybody like to second that motion?
Yeah, let's second it.
All right, we'll have 10 minutes of discussion.
Okay, perfect.
Did you get all that, Chrissy?
the motion was to amend the capital line budget for the Peterson Field improvements to add $200,000.
Yep, it was made by Mr. Quinn and seconded by Mr. Friedlander.
Thank you.
Go ahead,
Mr. Is that adding to 125 or increasing it to 200?
Council President, may I explain? Maybe it'll help your discussion with the other council members.
Yeah, go ahead, Mayor Puzio. You explain and then we'll have questions.
Yeah, I just want to add a little clarity to it. I'm going to have our CFO and our business administrator speak to this. Pat, if you want to talk, Lisa?
Okay, I'll start. When we have preliminary numbers for P1 and 2, they're not finished yet, and we haven't finished the design, but we are on schedule to go out to bid that in fall. And right now, the numbers look like we have to increase it a little bit. And that was the suggestion, I guess, the council came up with. And Ms. Palmieri can explain what the effect is, if any, to our budget.
Okay, so this is increasing a capital line item, which is part of our municipal budget, but it's a spending plan. This would not be affecting the tax rate at all. It would just simply be adding, I believe Mr. Quinn made a motion to increase it by 200,000. So that would bring it from 125 to 325. And again, this would not affect the municipal tax rate. It would just simply be adding a line item to our capital spending plan.
Questions?
I do, but I would, if anybody wants to go before me with some of the questions, I would rather go at the end.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Nobody else wishes to speak?
You're recognized, Mr. Kelly. Go ahead.
Well, first and foremost, I heard Mrs. Siegert say that there were suggestions from the council. Was there conversations before this meeting about this issue? I mean, it seems that the CFO has a prepared statement with regard to that. Mrs. Siegert, the mayor, had indicated that he was going to add some clarification. So apparently there's been some foreshadowing to where we're at tonight. But yet again, when we talk about P1 and P2, I haven't received any plans. I still haven't received the plans with regard to the basketball and the tennis courts. So here we are at the last minute of the introduction of a budget and to introduce it with no information whatsoever. And out of the blue, we're coming up with another amount of money to increase it to $350,000, even though it may not raise our taxes because it's money that we're going to borrow with the capital, but it is increasing our debt. Now, last year we had $500,000 that came out of left field, and then now we're increasing this $350,000. So if there was some knowledge of other council members or discussion with other council members, come up with this number for Mr. Quinn to make this motion, why wasn't it shared to the rest of the council to have some backup data to have a justifiable vote tonight, rather than just Mr. Quinn makes the motion, somebody seconds it, and we just roll through and rubber stamp it? Don't you think that all this money that we keep applying to this park, there's got to be a point that we need to reach out to the public, the voters, the taxpayers, and let them decide. When it happened once before with Mayor Datcherson, we did put it on referendum, and it was turned down. So there might have been an idea or a hint from the public at that time about these large expenditures that are going forward on this. Is there, I mean, there's a couple of questions I'm asking here, but is there a reason why we don't have this information before we vote on it, where it's last minute? And we're not talking 10, 20, 50 grand. We're talking $200,000 to add on to $150,000 that came out of left field during the budget discussions. So can anybody kind of provide me with some kind of information as to why we're not provided this material or data prior to this vote?
President, may I speak?
Absolutely.
That's exactly what we're doing, right? It's a very simple process. It was explained by the business administrator and the CFO what the usage is going to be with the increase. We're not increasing, I'll just answer another question. We're not increasing debt unless the money is actually borrowed. When you put something into the budget, unless you actually go out and borrow it, it doesn't have any effect until the time when you use the monies, per se. I feel we are having discussion right now. That's what we're here for. We're in public, and you have 9 of you can discuss and ask questions, and we will answer them as best we can. I think it's a very simple, straightforward item, but obviously anyone here can ask questions, and we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, there's a committee. Hold on, Mr. Kelly. I'll let you speak in a minute, Mr. Kelly. Okay. Mr. Mayor, is there a committee? There's a few council members on the committee for Peterson improvements, right?
Be correct. And as I've stated numerous times, I work through the committees. It's efficient.
So I'm just saying, but I think I had the same question as Mr. Kelly. How did this amount come up? I'm assuming it's those committee members through discussions with the administration.
That would be correct. That's the way I try to work with the committee members.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
Well, and I appreciate you paving the road for the mayor on that one. But the problem is that when the mayor, all of the rest of the council members or selected council members, you know what, put in an email. Well, wouldn't that be nice to have that same information? Because if the committee doesn't share that information with us, the rest of the council, we don't have any clue, Mr. Mayor. I mean, these specific individuals that you give that information to, there's also 9 council members in total. So when we bring it up, and Mr. Quinn makes that motion, again, I don't have any information. Mrs. Seeger, Mr. Palmieri, not one person from the rec committee has provided a plan to show me where this potential increase is necessary to apply towards this. And even though, Mr. Mayor, you say that, you know, it's really not increasing debt, but it's projected debt. Whether you spend it now or you spend it 10 days from now or a year from now, it's still a debt that is going to be created because you just stated that the administrator of these increases because of what was unforeseen for P1 and P2. So maybe we can we add this? Can Mr. Quinn make a motion at the adoption of the budget so that in the meantime we can see exactly what these increases are for? And maybe table this motion?
May I speak, Council President?
You recognize, Mr. Mayor?
Okay, as I've stated in the past, when we get engineering numbers, they're proprietary in the sense that they can't be released because they can affect the bidding process. So I asked the council to rely on our CFO, to rely on our business administrator and ourselves, that what we're doing is prudent, that what we're asking for is needed. And I've explained to the committee, to Mr. Quinn, Mr. Sackett, Mr. Brooks, the committee that I work through for this, to explain to them why it's needed. We're here tonight. It's very simple process. There's no numbers other than the increase that we're asking for that I can give out to the entire council, except to say that the current engineering that we've received for this, we might need an increase so we can continue the project in the fall. So it's a very straightforward process. There's not much more I can add to it than just what I did right now. We're discussing it out in the open where we can have as much discussion as we want. I'll answer the questions over again if anyone would like. So that's pretty much all I have to say. Thank you.
Council President, can I say something?
Sure, you're recognized.
All right, we're putting this money, as Ms. Palmieri said, in the capital plan. And like the basketball and the tennis courts, the final numbers and the bids came before the council to vote on to see the exact money and where it was spent. The same thing will happen with P1 and 2. When it's time after the bid and everything comes back, the council will have a look at everything they want. They just have to ask for it.
Okay. Mr. Kelly, do you have more?
I do. Again, you're Mayor, like you're selecting 3 people to talk to. I mean, the rec committee has their duty and function as described in our code, but there's also a responsibility of the council members to have some information. What I don't understand is if you can give us attorney-client privileged material for us to review, we can have discussions in closed session. Why couldn't you do the same thing with regard to this increase of a capital line? You could have easily put this on closed session prior to what we had here for the induction of the ordinance for the municipal budget appropriations. I mean, the budget that we have here. We could have had some conversations, discussion. There could have been material circulated amongst all of us. We did it once before, back in 2019. And then again, you're having this increase in here. Why don't we put it on referendum? Let the voters decide if, in fact, they want to spend this kind of money. It almost seems like you're rejecting anybody's possible input through Rockaway Township other than what you want and what Mr. Quinn, Sackett, and Mr. Brooks wants. I just don't think that's fair. I think there's a better appearance that we can make of transparency, of involving people and sharing that information. Not because you say so, and I appreciate you're doing your due diligence, but Mr. Mayor, no offense, I don't see you having any knowledge in construction whatsoever. Nor Mr. Quinn, nor Mr. Sackett, none. Nor
My
Mrs.
friend,
Palmieri.
you are incorrect. Stop making up lies. You are wrong.
Council President, can I speak?
You're recognized, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Kelly, Councilman Kelly, I appreciate your comments. There's a certain thing called managerial prerogative when it comes to how I run the town and what I feel is best with the town. Very collaborative. I've involved a host of people from the sports programs, people in the public. I've been working with the Citizens Recreation Committee. So there's been a lot of involvement. a lot of collaboration. One day, if you're successful and when you're mayor, you can choose to run the town differently. I appreciate your opinion that you have a different managerial style than myself, and you are correct. I'm not an expert, but that's what part of being a leader is relying on the experts. I'm not a health expert. I'm not an engineer. I'm not a zoning or a construction expert, but I have those people who work for me, and they are part of my team as a mayor, and I'm elected to fulfill a certain role, and I do what I think is right by Rockaway Township. And that may differ than what you believe, and so be it. I'm not trying to change your opinion. I have my philosophy in running the town, and you have yours. So thank you.
Okay, that's 10 minutes. Clerk, can you take the roll call?
Did we have a motion or a second to approve the resolution?
No,
Second.
no, there wasn't any motion or second on that. There was a motion and second on adding the 200K.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. That's what we're voting on.
Councilmember Kelly?
For the amendment, right?
Yes.
No on the amendment.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Chris?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. The motion carries, so the capital line item will be increased. Next, we'll be voting
Council President,
on.
I have a motion on something.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly, state your motion.
And this is what I wanted to address earlier, Council President. It's just a small detail. When we voted on the increases for legal, I just wanted to know, so when we move forward, maybe Mrs. Palmieri can help us with this. Just briefly. It's not about.
Are you making a motion? I'd like you to make your motion, please.
I am, but like Mr. Quinn describing the motion.
Mr. Quinn didn't describe the motion. He made a motion. So please make your motion.
Mr. Jackson, this is just a simple, maybe a thing that we need to correct. Real quick, please. We made a motion back on the 16th of February to close legal. On the 23rd of February, we never made a motion to open legal to make the adjustment. For whatever reason, that was the only motion we made to close a specific department in line. So your $50,000 increase was never, the legal tab was never opened again to go in there to make that change. So since we have a pending motion of a closed tab, we can't make a motion to increase that unless we made a motion prior to open it again to make the increase. For whatever reason, that's why the 23rd minutes that we voted on before, I wanted to address that with you. You weren't willing to listen to me before we got to this point.
Okay.
So do we make a motion to correct it?
I don't know, Mr. Yachafano, his
Council
opinion.
President?
Yeah.
I can, if Mr. Yachafano doesn't mind, I can probably address that.
Go ahead, Mr.
Making the motions to close the different sections of the budget workbook, it's more of a formality. It's not exactly, they're not required. Other municipalities don't go through their budget in the same manner. Opening the tab, closing the tab. Again, it's just how our council goes through the budget process of adding and decreasing monies.
Okay.
But it wouldn't change adding the funds to the legal budget.
And Mr. Just to follow on that, Ms. Clipperton, I appreciate your answering. But regardless of it being necessary or not, there still was a motion that was there. We don't need a motion to put something on referendum. But in order to take it off a referendum, we would have to withdraw that motion.
Okay. So are you going
to motions work or don't work?
You said you had a motion to make, Mr. Kelly. Make your motion.
Well, again, I'm making clarification. I think there should be a motion to open the legal tab, make your increases necessary, and then vote on that and then close that.
Anybody like to second that motion?
Okay.
Okay, let's move on. So we're voting on resolution R21-46, a resolution to introduce the 2021 municipal budget of Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Quinn and Mr. Salberg. Or was that Mr.?
Yeah, I believe so.
Salberg, okay. Clerk, you can take the roll call?
Councilmember Kelly,
No.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. Resolution carries. Next is Resolution R 21-47, Rockaway Township Self-Examination of Budget Resolution. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Quinn and Mr. Friedlander. Clerk, you can take the roll call?
Councilmember Kelly,
No.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kretz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. Resolution carries. Next is ordinances to introduce O-21-16, an ordinance providing for the undertaking of watershed assessment, planning, and studies by the Township of Rockaway and the County of Morris, New Jersey, and appropriating $175,525, therefore constituting proceeds of a grant from the Highlands Water Protection and Planning Council. Can I have a motion?
Motion.
So moved.
Mr. Kelly, seconded by Mr. Quinn. Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kretz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is ordinance O-21-17, bond ordinance appropriating $2,852,500 and authorizing the issuance of $2,460,700 bonds or notes of the township for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken by the Township of Rockaway and the County of Morris, New Jersey. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Quinn and Mr. Friedlander.
I got just discussion. I have one question on that.
I have 3 minutes of discussion.
This appropriation that we have here, what are the various improvements that we would have so that people know? Mrs. Palmieri?
Yes, this is the capital plan that we spoke of earlier. Which you approved when we went over the budget with the hearings. I just want to add though, if you.
We got to add a number to it, don't we?
You're going to add a number to it because we're going to increase the Peterson Field by 200,000. So I would suggest if that is the wishes of the council, that someone make a motion to increase the amount we are appropriating up to $3,052,500 and increase the amount we are issuing to $2,660,700.
Now, Mrs. Palmieri, we need to make a motion to adjust this before we vote and introduce this, correct?
Correct. We would have to amend the way the
So,
ordinance is written.
Mr. Quinn, you need to withdraw your motion.
I still have the floor though, right?
For another minute or two, yeah.
Mrs. Palmieri, a portion of this for the bond ordinance that we have, isn't there a requirement that we have to have plans in place for various improvements?
If you look at the ordinance, each section of the ordinance will say plans on file or to be filed with the clerk. It's standard boilerplate language. It doesn't mean that the plans have to be on file as we speak.
Okay, and I understand that how it's read. Do we have plans for all of these improvements? Regardless
have
of what
the
the
answer to that.
ordinance and the law states on it, do we have all plans for these things?
I wouldn't be able to answer that.
Mrs. Seeger?
We have plans, yes.
You have plans for every one of these improvements?
We have plans for the current improvements that we're making right now that are related to this ordinance.
Okay, can you send me those plans, Mr. Mayor? For each one of those improvements?
I will look and see what we can send out. Certainly, I can get you what I have currently gotten some of the other council folks. Mr. Kritz, same things. If they're proprietary and they haven't been built or gone out to bid, I'm not going to put those out unless we're allowed to. I have to make sure it's okay. I'll check through legal, but I'll get you
Okay,
what.
but if I would imagine if Mr. Kritz is allowed to review it, I don't think Mr. Kritz has any additional powers and ability than I do as an individual. That would be discriminating. So whatever you've given Mr. Kritz and he's reviewed to give his vote, I would love to have the same.
Absolutely, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for asking.
Right.
I'll get them to you.
Mr. Quinn, would you like to withdraw
Well,
your
for the
motion?
last 2 years.
Council President, there's no need to withdraw the motion. We can make a subsidiary motion to amend those numbers, and then we can vote, we can vote to introduce as amended.
Right, so I'd like to make a motion to amend the bond ordinance appropriating $3,052,500 and authorizing the issuance of $2,660,700 in bonds or notes of the Township of Rockaway for various improvements. Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second.
I think Howard did first, so.
Oh, yeah.
A quick discussion on that, Council President, what you just said?
No. Clerk, you could take the roll call.
Would you mind actually repeating those numbers for me quickly?
Just-
Sorry,
yeah,
it's $3 million.
What you read.
$3,052,500 and $2,660,700.
Thank
Could you read it entirely though? I don't know what you said before that.
I did read it in the entirety the first time. She just asked me to read the numbers again. Clerk,
I
you can
couldn't
take the
hear you
roll
the first
call.
time, Mr. Jackson.
You can take the roll
Councilmember
call.
Kelly?
Clerk.
I was just asking him to read the first time. Like you, I didn't hear it.
Are you voting,
Can you read
Mr.
it to
Kelly?
me, Mrs. Clipperton, before I vote?
No, you
I'm
don't need to
sorry?
read it to him. He wants you to read it to him. I already read it.
I haven't.
Take the roll
That's
call.
fair, Mrs. Clipperton. I'm asking you to read the resolution so I understand what you said. I don't know what it is right now to vote.
Like, maybe you should have paid attention when I
did
read it.
pay attention. I'm sorry.
Does anybody
This is
else
the marbles out of your
understand?
mouth.
Does anybody else have issues with what I read?
The clerk did.
$3,052,500.
I
Everybody
understand.
else understands it.
Numbers.
Chrissy, please
Read the
take the roll
motion.
call.
Councilmember Kelly?
Absolutely not.
Councilmember Quinn?
Absolutely, yes.
There you go, Jack.
There you go.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes to the increase of $3,052,500 and to the issuance of $2,660,700. Yes.
Councilmember Kritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries. Do we need to vote on the ordinance as it's amended, Chrissy?
I would recommend that Councilmember Quinn amends his motion to
So go ahead,
introduce
Mr.
the
Quinn.
ordinance as amended.
Yep.
Yes, I'll amend my motion to approve the motion as amended.
The ordinance as amended.
Correct.
Anybody want to second that?
Second that.
Second.
Second.
Okay.
I have Councilmember Salberg.
Yeah, that's it. You can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
No.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no, motion carries. Next is ordinance O-21-18, a bond ordinance appropriating $725,000 and authorizing the issuance of $685,000 bonds or notes of the township for various improvements or purposes authorized to be undertaken in and by the Township of Rockaway in the County of Morris, New Jersey for the water supply and distribution system of the township.
Make a motion.
Mr. Kelly,
So moved.
Mr. Quinn. Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly, Mayor Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses, motion carries. Next, we have the consent agenda, R21-44, R21-45, R21-48, R21-49, R21-50, R21-51, R21-52, R21-53, and R21-54. Can I have a motion?
I have a motion to take 2 of them out for discussion and separate vote.
What's your motion for? Which ones, Mr. Kelly?
It's just, I think appointments and contracts and stuff, we should have separate from the consent agenda. We've done this before. So just
So
it would be E, R21-50 and R21-51 for a separate vote rather than a consent agenda dealing with the contracts and appointments.
Anybody like to second Mr. Kelly's motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Brooks.
All right, take a vote, Ms. Clipperton, on removing those 2 items for discussion.
A separate vote.
that was
Oh, as a separate
R21
vote. All right,
Yeah, well,
remove
we
those
have
items first.
discussion and a separate vote. It's just,
I understand what you're saying, Mr. Kelly. So that's what we're voting on, to remove those 2 items for a separate vote, Ms. Clipperton.
Councilmember Kelly,
my motion was to have them removed for a separate vote and discussion combined. It would be yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
No.
Councilmember Freelander,
We're voting on for doing it separate?
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. The motion carries. So we'll have 5 minutes of discussion on these 2, R21-50 and R21-51, followed by a vote. So I'd just like to make sure everybody's careful. These are contracts and personnel matters, so we need to be careful about what we discuss. And I'll ask the township attorney to interject if he feels like we're going in a direction we shouldn't be. So,
Council
I
President,
open up-
could we quickly vote on the remaining balance of the
Sure,
consent
so,
agenda?
I was going to ask the same
So I
thing.
got a motion so we're going to motion to approve R21-44, R21-45, R21-48, R21-49, R21-52, R21-53, and R21-54.
So moved.
Second motion.
Seconded.
Mr. Kelly, second. So clerk, can you take the roll call on that?
Councilmember Kelly,
That would be yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Freelander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon? Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Those resolutions carry. Next, we'll have 5 minutes discussion on R 21-50 and R 21-51. You're recognized, Mr. Kelly.
First, Mr. Jackson, has any of the employees been riced?
Nope.
That would have been wise if we could have went further with discussion regarding these resolutions that we have here. The deputy clerk, or the deputy assessor, who's now the tax assessor, with the agreement that we had for the deputy assessor position, there was levels of pay increases for the 5 years of that agreement. On this particular one, I didn't see any levels of increase. Do we know what the final salary would be at the end of the 5th year? Anybody? Ms. Palmieri?
I'm not sure what you're talking about with levels of increase for the deputy assessor.
When we had the deputy assessor, there was levels of increases for each year following the appointment. And now we have the appointment of the assessor going over, filling in the unexpired term, and then taking an additional 4 years. But I didn't see the level of increases on this particular resolution like the last one.
I think
The
they're
mayor
different
had,
positions.
I'm sorry?
They're different positions.
I know that, but there's still a salary. There's still a period of time of each year. I'm not saying that we're focusing on the deputy assessor, but yet we have a resolution for an appointment of somebody that's the assessor with basically following a boilerplate of these X amount of years. I just didn't see the increase from the base salary that they're getting over the next 5 years, like we did in that deputy assessor resolution.
They're two separate positions, and we'll determine that as we go on. Could be based
Well,
on
you had
performance.
it's not the position that I'm talking about. It's how we came to the conclusion of the ending salary of the last year. And I was wondering why this doesn't have the same information like that for this position.
I don't understand what you're talking about.
Okay, I wasn't a trick question. I just wanted to know the breakdown of the increase for each year all the way up to the 5th year.
I don't
I believe there
understand.
were,
I'm being.
Can I,
there were levels of salary for her as a deputy assessor. She would just have gotten the standard percent increase that all the other employees receive. I don't recall there being levels that you're speaking of.
Well, each year,
excuse
Mrs.
me, Mr.
Palmieri,
Jackson, can I be recognized?
Yes.
I'm looking at the resolution we did for the deputy. It only has her starting salary. It doesn't say anything about an increase.
the backup data that we got on that, Ms. Siegert, it showed almost like a 2% increase throughout each year that they were on there.
I don't know
Another-
what backup you received, but it's not on the resolution. This resolution, Mr. Perone can correct me if he's on here, was done the same way.
Thanks, Mrs. Seeger. I'll send it to you
Okay.
tomorrow. The other question I have was on the resolution 2151. We have this an employment agreement for the business administrator. And I just have a couple of questions on each thing. Is the current contract with the business administrator terminated or expired?
The current business administrator is Ms. Seeger.
Is the contract that she has expired?
Oh, that's why we're forming a contract tonight for the position. It was my error. I should have, the contracts usually run this length for, a standard would be the contracts usually run for a business administrator and have in the past for the length of the term of the mayor, because it's a mayor's appointment.
Right.
I should have, it's my fault. I take ownership of it. I should have last year sat down with Ms. Seeger and crafted a contract. I did not do that. My error, got caught up. We were busy for whatever reason. It just slipped through the cracks.
Okay.
So I caught up with it, with everything that's going on. And this contract is a product of trying to get one done.
Okay, so, I mean, she actually has been appointed, I think, in 19, no? So this has been going on for 2 years without a contract, or 3 years maybe?
have to go back and look. This is my,
Okay.
I would have to look, but she didn't have one last year.
But
And it's my-
we're going back, we're making it a retro action on this contract because it says January 1, 2021, which is 3 months ago.
Correct. It'll run,
Okay.
it'll run till the end of my term, 3
Thank you.
years.
The
Thank you.
residency requirement on line 2 of this contract, is there a residency requirement that we're waiving for this position?
Council President,
Yes, you're recognized.
we really shouldn't be getting into the details of this contract.
It's a contract that's open to the public, Mr. We're not talking about a position or salaries. We're not talking about their work and what they have to produce. We're talking about a contract that we have in front of us that we're voting on. And since we weren't able to actually read the material because of all the errors with the our website and getting documentation, this is nothing but a better time to talk about it. So,
You have my opinion, Council President.
Yeah, I'd like to abide by that,
I'm
so.
still going to ask my questions. If you don't want to answer them, that's fine.
There should be no discussion, Council President.
So Mr. Kelly,
Portion
Mr. Kelly, we're at our 5-minute limit. So, you had
I'm
your
not
time
done,
to speak.
Council President. I asked for 2 more minutes and then I'm done.
No, and I'm going on
Section
to
D.
an advisement of council not to discuss this any longer.
The
So
administrator has
based
to
on the advisement of council, we're going to move forward.
have to
So
abide
Mr.
by
Kelly, I'd like you to have some decorum and stop
contributions
talking,
towards
please.
her
Try
benefit.
to have some class tonight and stop talking. So
Chapter
clerk,
70
can you please,
for the
can we
benefits
get a
for the
motion
administrator.
to approve or to vote on R21-50 and R21-51?
So moved.
And Mr.
Second.
Jackson, who wrote?
Second,
Ms. Noon, okay, so that was Mr. Quinn and Ms. Noon. Clerk, you could take the roll call.
Council President, we should really vote on them separately. So are we doing R2150 right now?
Yes.
Clerk,
Okay. And we had Councilmember Quinn and Councilmember Noon?
Correct.
Thank you. Councilmember Kelly?
Does Mr. Quinn realize what we're voting on?
Yes.
Okay. And this is for Ms. Johnson, correct?
Correct.
This is R21-50.
Just making sure. A lot of talk around. Absolutely.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 9 yeses. R21-50 carries. Next, we'll be voting on R21-51. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
So Mr. Quinn and Mr. Friedlander. Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
It's funny, we won't allow to have any discussion on this contract. No.
Councilmember Quinn?
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander?
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz?
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg?
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks?
Yes.
Councilmember Noon?
Yes.
Vice President Sackett?
Yes.
President Jackson?
Yes, that's 1 no, 8 yeses. Resolution carries. Next are the mayor's appointments. We have an appointment for the planning board, class 4, an unexpired term, 4-year term ending 12/31/21, and he is appointing Kathleen Platts. Next is the planning board, second alternate, unexpired 2-year term ending 12/31/21, and he is appointing Rachel Brooks. Did you have anything you wanted to say, Mr. Mayor?
Did. I just want to explain very briefly how the planning board works. We currently have, and I know that's going to go into the council appointment end. We currently had a resignation of one of our planning board members, and I moved an alternate up, and that triggered the person who left served on the planning board as well as the zoning board. It was a dual role. I'm allowed to have somebody on both boards, which is a nice way to bridge it. So if we have issues, that person can go back and forth. They have more of an institutional knowledge and intimate knowledge from attending the meetings. So Kathleen Platts is appointed. I moved her up, and I also, I see on here that we're going to put her, if the vote goes through, to the Board of Adjustment as well.
Thank you. Next is council appointments. We have Board of Adjustment, full member, unexpired term ending 12/31/22. And the nominee is Kathleen Platts. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Council President, I have a question.
Sure.
It's just a matter, with this, and maybe the mayor can help out. When we had the Environmental Commission, automatically somebody from the Environmental Commission goes onto the Planning Board and is considered a Class 4. And since we dissolved the Environmental Commission, was that person still serving on the board, even though we didn't have a commission anymore? Because there could be a potential conflict if that's the case, or we need a necessary adjustment. Because under the statute they have here that if we have an individual that's a planning board and a zoning board member simultaneously, then I believe that if there was a commissioner on the planning board, would go from a Class 4 to, I believe, a Class 2. So I'm just making sure that if we still had a commissioner there at the time, if we ever adjusted some of those positions accordingly from the elimination of the commission, and just not to create any conflict here.
I don't have any knowledge of what you're speaking about. I can't comment on it tonight. If I would have had the information prior or the concern prior, I may have been able to look into it.
If I would have got the information sooner, I could have helped you out on that.
Sure. No, listen, I will, I'll take your comment. We'll take a look at it to make sure that we're in compliance. And if it needs to be something in the future that needs to be
Take the roll
adjusted.
call.
Then should we table this then? Should we table it for the next meeting until you can confirm?
If you want to make a motion to table it, Mr. Kelly, you can make a motion.
I'm just, like I said, I didn't think it would be difficult. There's only 9 members that are on there. If we had a member that was.
Do you want to make a motion to table it, Mr. Kelly?
I would say we make a motion to table this appointment to the next council meeting.
Does anybody want to second Mr. Kelly's motion?
Why confirm,
Clerk,
right?
you could take the roll call, clerk.
Councilmember Kelly,
No.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kretz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. The appointment carries. Next, I'm going to do like I've done in previous meetings. I'm going to combine old business, new business, and council reports and give each council member 15 minutes. So I will start with Ms. Noon.
Yes, just 2 quick things. I did attend last week the Board of Education meeting, and I just wanted to say that kindergarten registration is the month of March. I did ask if anything special was going on or anything different was going on, due to the pandemic, and I was told no. So just the normal kindergarten registration, which is the whole month of March. And I also had the pleasure of having the Girl Scouts interview me to help them get their badge. So that was quite fun and interesting, and I was very proud to help them, achieve their democracy. And that's it. Otherwise, everyone stay safe.
Excellent. Mr. Brooks?
Thank you, Council President. Once again, I'd just like to keep the family from the girl from Mars Hills in our thoughts and prayers, as you discussed earlier today. And just remind everyone to have good discussions with your kids about their studies and everything else within this COVID time. I know it's very stressful for the kids, and hopefully we'll be able to get them back to school a little bit more and a little bit normalcy to clear their minds. Once again, I just also want to thank the police officers today. There was an accident out in front of my house. With the EMT was there, the state police were there, as well as our officers, and looked like they had everything in good control. So the person did walk out of the accident in shape, but he could have went over the cliff. So it was quite close, but good for them, and glad they did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Friedlander.
Okay, just a couple updates. Library now is starting to clean up the room. They're going ahead with the renovations of the study room. That's a good thing. The Ford Fish House, the Historical Society, they really don't have any meetings or programs right now because of what's going on. But they did mention that once the warm weather hits, that they're going to start cleaning up the Ford Fish House for the proposed grant money to start working on it, which is a good thing. Board of Assessment, if you want to ask the attorney a little more update, just getting Gene Gabrant, I believe, is going to take the place of Mark Burek, getting up to speed, and I think Mr. Yachafano could probably. That's about it. Looking forward to my favorite Saturday at the market. More people, more vendors are there. They're looking forward to the warm weather. There was even a musician there. Things are moving in the right direction for the town, and that's it.
Great, thank you. Mr. Kelly?
A couple of things. Just real quick, I'll take reports first and go into old and new business. I just want to thank the county, their DPW, for the catch basin over there on Snake Hill and Green Pond Road. It was clogged of the drainage going out, overflowing, and creating an ice concern. They came out immediately to do that. Everybody, please, Girl Scouts, they're out there. They're selling cookies. They need these sales from these cookies in order to help them do some of their events that they have. It's a great thing to do, and I always gain about 2-3 pounds every time they come around. What I want to remind everybody, it's just a couple of days ago, and those in White Meadow Lake, Joy Wine had passed away. It's their 2-year anniversary on the 6th of March, and she was an unbelievable pillar in the community over there with all the events that she was involved with and involved with the township. And it's amazing that 2 years have gone by so fast. So just a recognition to Joy, who was a great person and definitely deeply missed. Mr. Freelander, maybe a suggestion I had offered to Mrs. Licker about maybe doing a virtual event or meeting over there for the Historical Society. I hadn't heard back from her from some time ago, but maybe you might want to throw it by her again just to have something come up to see what we have over there. 2 things that I want to address. One, I'm very surprised that we had a contract that had slipped by for a top position in our township, and not having anything addressed about it, not having any information about this contract to be answered. And again, individuals just voting on things without 100% knowledge on it. And it's concerning to me. My question I was asking, I wanted to know if the one section of that contract here under 3, if the administrator will be contributions towards Chapter 78.
Council President.
It doesn't mention any.
Again, I know Mr. Yachafano, he's putting our township at risk again.
No risk there. No risk there. We're talking about a contract.
And again, he's putting the township
The
at
other
risk.
thing that I have here, Mr. Yachafano's interrupting. There was a letter that was drafted and emailed over to us. A former councilwoman had reached out to Councilman Brooks, and Mrs. Smith. Not only was she a retiree from the township, but she also worked within the police department and closely with the chief of police. And she had a question and some concerns about the director of public safety that the mayor has been denying from the beginning, and then all of a sudden everything else pops up. But I want to just read something here. the mayor always seems to throw a little dig in there when it has a question about something. When we talked about the public safety director, again, there's documentation from the administration that they were reviewing this with the mayor back in October of 2020. The mayor denied it. Then miraculously, we have an ordinance that comes up with the salaries of individuals, and that comes up on the on that ordinance there. And then Mr. Jackson responds that, you know, because it's not in the budget and money wasn't allocated in there, that it's not something that's available. Well, that's not true either, because we did the same thing. We hired a superintendent, assistant superintendent for water prior to voting on that line item with that salary 4 months earlier, back in 2020. But the one thing I don't understand, Mr. Mayor, you always state in here, the prior council was unable to achieve anything meaningful for the taxpayers, except wasting money on legal issues. During the dysfunction of the past, I'm still catching up on projects that were never started. It's been great working with the current council. More importantly, we've been able to deliver budgets that have resulted in virtually no increase. Well, we have almost a $500,000 increase to our budget. And if you recall, Mr. Mayor, before the other members of the council came in here, you were a council member, and nothing was done. Not to mention nothing was done, you had litigation from the one mayor, which was then later dismissed. All the monies that were there because they sued certain individuals individually, raking up the legal bills that are on there. Then you duplicate that same lawsuit on your own. Within a short period of time when you actually got appointed as mayor, and then you came in and you were elected as mayor, which created another hundreds of thousands of dollars going forward, not to mention the Salberg matter and everything else collectively combined. So what I don't understand is, why do you put out so much of this information of all this litigation that you created, you supported, and some of your other individuals on council supported too, that was well inflated and went well above the actual budget that we have for those legal lines that were there? I mean, is it really difficult for you to be very honest about everything that you did and the wasted money that you had, which you lost your matter, you had to withdraw your matter, you hired attorneys illegally, which you had to redo by the courts, but you never mentioned any of that. Instead, you focused on one individual because he was taken away from his due process, or he wasn't given information that he's entitled to, and that's not okay. But when it's in your corner, everything's fine. But when anybody else has a decision or a disagreement, it's not okay. I can't get over how much money you wasted since you got appointed as the mayor, and how much money that you supported others that were wasting it, let alone you even sued your own county and weren't successful when you got demoted. So you know what? Before you start going after everybody, you should look at yourself a little bit and do that. And the same thing with Mr. Waters, who is our chairman of the Board of Assessments. I can't believe the comments that he's saying about what's going on. We got $650,000 laying there for sewer assessments. We got a councilman, Mr. Quinn, who hasn't paid or even offered to pay and benefited from that line. And he's going to chastise other people, but he hasn't done one thing in regards to moving forward to collecting that money that all the taxpayers paid for 77 people on their sewer line, those that are on septic that will never benefit from that. It's amazing how you guys can kind of flip the script and turn it around. And like I said, that's your best effort, Mr. Mayor, when it comes to that. So with that being said, I hope everybody has a great weekend coming in, and thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kretz.
Okay, I had a meeting last week with administration to start and finalize our sponsorship committee. So more to come on that as we look to have our first meeting within the next week or so. I'm really looking forward to what I think we can accomplish with that. Since our last meeting, we have begun lacrosse. It's very, very exciting to get back out there and have the kids doing some sports. I want to talk about staying vigilant. I know that the CDC recently came out with guidelines around vaccinated people not needing masks if they're going to be grouping together. Yeah, you know, the school recently announced that starting in April, you know, we're going to start having the kids on a rotation going back on Mondays. Overall, things start to feel like they're getting back to normal. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but we still have to remain vigilant. And I just want to remind people that, you know, we're not done yet. We're getting there. You know, it's progress. Any progress progress is good progress. So stay safe. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Quinn.
Yes, thank you. We had a rec meeting that was cut short, but I can tell you that the rec committee is reaching out to our seniors. They are also reaching out to the Challenger program and the PAL to get these groups more inclusive into these programs and start tailoring more and more items for them within the town to do. We, under Dial-A-Ride and Senior Services, we started talking about looking at that future, not right now, getting back to where we were monthly taking seniors that would sign up to go to a breakfast or something so that they would get out of the house, out of the doctor's appointments, and have a little social interactive together. We are looking forward to that, as Howard said, as things open up, and hopefully everybody stays smart and stay safe. Yes, and all the programs are actively recruiting: baseball, football, soccer, lacrosse. I just saw football and cheerleading signups are up on the web. So everybody that's interested, please sign up, and also sign up to be a coach or an assistant coach. They are in dire need to have these people help out. All right. As far as the planning board goes, we are going to have a planning board meeting in a week or two. And I'm glad the appointment went through so that we can keep our board together. All right. Other than that, we're working forward to getting things done in the second ward, and everybody have a safe and healthy holiday season as we're getting ready. It's coming. Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Salberg.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, I wanted to talk about something that actually came out of the Department of Agriculture, the New Jersey Department, that unfortunately I think is going to have a real negative impact on our town over the next few years. And first, I want to thank the administration for taking my concerns serious and really communicating with me about this. I've also reached out to our County Board of Commissioners. The warning is about something called an emerald ash boring beetle. This is an infestating insect which can destroy an ash tree within 3 years with 99 years of lethality. Unfortunately, there's signs of this all across our town already. This has the potential of literally wiping out every single ash tree in our town. Obviously impacting residents with them on their property, but my main concern was trees along roads. That's why I reached out to the commissioners along Mount Hope and Green Pond. But once this infestation starts, it cannot be stopped. Within 3 years, regardless of the health of that tree, it's dead in 3 to 4 years and must be cut down. So I reached out to the administration, again, took a look at the information I sent them, and assured me that we are going to be going ahead and, hopefully putting together at least identifying it, or if not a plan. So if you've been outside and you've come across a tree that for no reason has a pile of bark at the base of it, it's pretty easy to see in the snow. That's an ash tree that's already been infected. That tree will be needed to be cut down in a few years. So just a point to everybody, take a look up, take a look at the trees around you, because it started in Michigan, worked its way east, and unfortunately we've got it bad. So just keep an eye on that. And again, I'd like to be part of this kind of going forward to be sure that this doesn't have an impact without us, being caught off guard. Beyond that, to mirror what's already been said, Councilman Kritz, is Rockaway, unfortunately, was kind of an unfortunate spike in COVID cases, which was disappointing to see. But I think all in all, I don't see many people without masks. So again, we just have to stay safe. We have to stay smart. Beyond that, again, enjoy the good weather while you can. Thank you.
Try to get on to Mr. Sackett.
No, Vice President Sackett. Vice President Sackett.
Thank you, Council President. I guess Mr. Kelly seems he's very angry tonight. I'm not sure. He must have had a rough day at work.
No, just ask Mr. Staff.
Just to correct him a little bit, yeah, he likes to spew out lies, and I've been in the construction industry for 21 years, so just a little correction for him. I also want to thank.
Please stop, Mr. Kelly.
I want to thank Councilman.
Painting is not.
Please
Hey,
stop.
Mr. Kelly, shush. You had your turn, my friend. Thank you. I just want to thank Councilman Kelly also for wasting our clerk's day on Friday. She sent me a note saying how you delayed her all day on Friday with your petty Oprah requests. And because of that, we didn't get our packets till Saturday. So maybe if you would just let her do her job instead of wasting her days with your requests. Currently, you're at 93 Oprah requests since you took office. So if you let the clerk do her job in peace, we can get our packets on time. Also, you keep talking about the BA. Well, as soon as I got the information, I went ahead and I reached out myself to get all my questions answered. Okay. The council president had wanted the meeting to run efficiently, and I took his advice and I reached out to administration by getting any questions I wanted answered. So maybe we should try that time. Citizen Recreation Committee meeting last Tuesday, like Jack said. A lot of sports are starting up. I know they are still looking for help. Soccer and baseball program for coaching. I know they ran a Rutgers safety clinic, I believe, last Thursday. It wasn't that well attended. So anyone in the future, keep an eye out. Anyone looking to coach, make sure they can sign up for that. Sunday, March 7th, I had the pleasure of being interviewed by 2 Boy Scouts who were working on their citizenship merit badges. We spoke about local government and the various roles of all involved. So really enjoyed it. I also want to thank Peter Tabbitt and the health department for helping out an elderly couple in my ward with some issues they were having getting appointments for their vaccinations. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be brief. Couple things. Number one, last week I attended a regional board of ed meeting. I think it was last week or the week before. It was interesting to hear some of the things going on in the regional district and some of the plans they're working on to get children back in school. The thing that was striking about it, it's nice seeing a meeting where there's no interruptions, where council members aren't interrupting each other and personally attacking and spreading false statements. It was just refreshing to see. Went to the market Saturday, picked up some pickles, saw some vendors there. There were actually quite a few people there when we went. So it's good to see the traffic in there, and just even driving through the mall. There's definitely a lot more cars in the mall, especially on the weekends. Been there on Thursdays and Friday nights and once in a weekend, and there's a lot more traffic in the mall. So there's definitely people getting out more and going in the mall. And as Mr. Critz said, as long as everybody's staying safe and everybody is wearing a mask in the mall that I see, I don't see people walking around without masks. It's good to see there being more traffic within the mall. With that said, I'll turn it over to the mayor for his report.
I thank you. I have a couple topics. I'm going to try to be brief. First, I want to, I really don't want to get into the weeds with Mr. Kelly. He's certainly entitled to his opinion, however false it is, his statements. I'm confident that the public sees through, the statements now. At first they didn't, but, his years of assaults on the township of Rockaway, prior administrations, including this one, it's wasted a lot of money. I'm not going to get into it. But I want to once again, I want to thank the council. This is what a good council looks like. And when I say that, I mean it in the sense that we're delivering for Rockaway Township. Peterson is going to be repaired and improved. You're going to have tennis courts that have been shuttered for years due to prior dysfunction on the council you're going to have pickleball and tennis. Things are going to start to open up. Projects are getting done. This is what we're here for, to deliver good government, to deliver tax dollars, to deliver projects that are based on the use of the tax dollars, not wasted on legal fees. This is what good government looks like, working together. And I could not do that without the support of the council. We work very well together, and the fruits of all of our labor are going to be seen. When that shovel goes in the ground at Peterson Field, it's going to be a tangible item. I'm going to move on to, there was a question about why we redid the ordinances for the affordable housing ordinances tonight. There was a issue with the notice requirement. It was included in your packets. The public doesn't have that. For the benefit of the public, I'm speaking on it. The judge we were required to satisfy noticing requirements, and we were deficient in that area. So we made that correction, and that's what caused us to reintroduce the ordinances tonight. It's very simple. It's a procedural issue. After speaking with Mr. Buzak, who's representing us in this area, we sat down, we spoke about it, and we decided that the judge and myself and our administration and Mr. Buzak decided that the course of action that we would have to take would be to reintroduce the ordinances. Simple procedural error. This Thursday, we have a pre-construction meeting for Peterson Field for the basketball and tennis courts, moving along nicely. The vendor has supplied the paperwork, insurance documents. We're getting close to putting that shovel in the ground. The gazebo project, I'm not going to steal our engineer's thunder, but we received some DEP had to get involved in that. We're going to be doing improvements down at the gazebo as well. We got some DEP issues squared away. I've received a few questions on Kings Road as to paving. We had a grant to pave Kings Road. We took a look at it, and we saw that there were some issues. We've been having issues with our sewer lines over there. They're old in certain areas. There's issues that we want to extend gas line through New Jersey Natural Gas. So you might see some work over there that's going to be performed. And then once all of that work is done, the grant money that we got to pave that road, we're going to wait till it gets completed, whatever this needs to be done, then we're going to pave in that area. Let me see, what do we have? COVID updates. I had a couple issues. People were concerned about the increase in COVID cases. Some people saw it as that Rockaway Township had an inordinate amount of increases. I sat down with the health officer. That's not true. Given the amount of our population, our increases in our town, as unfortunate as they are, they're standard. It's the same, the linear progression that we've been seeing in other towns with increases. So I want to remind everybody, this is not over with. This is not over with. Practice social distancing. Please wear your masks. It helps others. It helps yourself from spreading the disease. That's the only way we're going to be able to get this under control is if we act responsibly. Remember, if you so choose, please go get vaccinated. Take all the steps necessary to squash this disease out. And there's one other thing that I wanted to let you know that I'm working on. I believe that education is important, and I believe it's important to help our employees, those who in town, in our police department and the other departments who want to further their education. It's expensive. College is very expensive. So I've been exploring different options as to how we can get our employees, those that want to go to school, want to further their degrees or get their initial degrees. And I'm working with St. Elizabeth's. I reached out to one of the professors at St. Elizabeth's, and we're going to look at an MOU with them, a memorandum of agreement with them, memorandum of understanding, where we're going to possibly be able to get our employees, those that want to go to school, want to go and further their education, they're going to be able to do it at a discount. So that is all I have tonight. I appreciate all the work that everyone's been doing. I appreciate you reaching out to the administration to make these meetings efficient. This is what good government looks like. And you're going to see good government around town by what the tax dollars are producing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gacifano?
No report, Council President.
Mrs. Seeger?
Other than thank you for your support, everybody, and reaching out to me to answer your questions. I'm happy to answer them anytime. Nothing else.
Mrs. Palmieri? You're muted if you're speaking. Oh, go ahead,
Sorry,
Ms.
no,
Ferrante.
no report tonight. Thank you.
Okay, Mrs. Ferrante? You're muted if you're speaking. Okay, Mr. Dyer?
No report tonight, Council President.
Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn? Unmute yourself. Yeah.
So moved.
Motion. Grant, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion's adjourned at 8:09 PM. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Clipperton.
Thank you.
Thank you. Till we meet again.